Assalamualaikum and good evening everyone. Today my team and I, that consists of Abdullah, Aliff, Fitri, me, and also Rahman, will present about our mini project. Our mini project is about the chapter 8 in mathematics, that is about correlation and regressions. So in this mini project, we already give a guidance by our lecturer, Madam Munirah binti Kamal, to observe a relationship between something and something. So in this mini project, we are doing a survey on the number of pages that been read by as per student in the major biology textbook, and how much time they take to read the book, to read the textbook without a rest. So within 1 week, we are waiting the survey, because the survey we are forwarded and sent to as per students. So we are ready to help us fill in data to we get the data from the as per student. So within 1 week, we got about 51 participants in our data. So because some of the data are corrupted or not even have a relationship between the number of pages and also the time they take, so we just only take 33 data from the survey. So from the 33 data, we are applying into our graph. So next information within our mini project is being presented by my other friends.
Before this, we have here about Daniel's explanation about introduction of our mini project. So I'm gonna explain about the methodology. Usually we have two methods to occur the correlation relationship between our mini project, which is time taken strictly to read Maths book and number of pages to read the Maths book. So we have two methods to gain the data, which is with data collection, and also after the collection of data, we can plot the graph and we can get the result, which is the correlation between the variables, between two variables. Okay, the first one, we collect the data by using Google Form. So it is because Google Form is easy to use and also save cost to make a survey. So everyone can just answer the survey just like 2 minutes or maybe less, because it is easy to answer, and it's also save times. Okay, our targeting is mostly especially for as per student, because as per student mostly all of as per student read the Maths books, which is our biology book. It is easy to measure the number of pages in Maths book and the time spent to read it. So by using Google Form, we can get the data, and the final data we actually get 51 respondents, but we use 33 respondents because the rest is having some error of data, like invalid number and the corruption of data. And for the second method, after we get the data, we plot the graph, which is the graph for correlation relationship between the time spent straightly to read Maths book against the number of pages to read this Maths book. So for y-axis, we use the time spent straightly to read the Maths book, and for x-axis, we use the number of pages that have been read on that time, and on the specific time of the matter book. So after we get the data, we plot and we can make the straight line, which is the correlation. In these studies, x-axis we use as independent variable, which is number of pages to read matter book, and y-axis as dependent variable, which is time spent straightly to read the matter book. It because to read the matter book or any book, we need a time per page. So if we read the book, we need to read the page, not the time, right? So we must finish that page, and that the time can occur based on the page that the number of pages that he or she read. Okay, that's all. We can proceed to the data of findings.
Okay, so for the data analysis, the results with the correlation between both variables was nice, with the R squared is equal to 0.979 or R is equal to 0.989, and that indicates a high positive correlation. And we proceed for the regression analysis, where we got the line of best fit is equal to the estimated regression model as y is equal to 1.71x plus 1.01 plus exponential. Finally, we can draw a straight line in our graph where 4 points were plotted on the line. And as for the findings, our graph consists of the y and x-axis, where the y-axis is the time spent slightly without time spent straightly without rest on reading the matter book, while the x-axis is the number of pages read on the matter book, which is our biology sport in ASPO.
And I'm going to present to you about the result of our project. Before that, thank you Abdullah for the previous explanation. Alright, let's move on. First of all, the determination of the variables. There are two variables, which is the independent and dependent. For the independent variable in our project, it is the number of pages read on the matter textbooks, because the number of pages read doesn't rely on anything. It just depends on ourselves on how much to read, right? For the dependent variable in our project, it is the time spent straightly without rest on reading the matter textbooks, because the time spent on reading the matter textbooks should depend on the number of pages read, right? That's why it is the dependent variable. Okay, settle with it. Let's proceed with the second one. The second one is we are also able to draw the scattered diagram graph, which looks like this. And if you notice, there are several and or a lot of dots in it, right? The dots are actually our data that we have gained from our survey. Oh, before I forget, in doing our graph, we had using the Microsoft Excel program to help us do the graph. Alright. The third one, we had also able to determine the Pearson's product moment, or R. But if you observe carefully in our graph, you will notice the R square, right? Like I mentioned previously, we had used Microsoft Excel to make our graph, and by doing so, the computer or the systems had actually had us to calculate the R, but in the form of R square. So to get the R, you just need to square it. And if you see, the R square that we have gained is 0.979, which is nearly close to 1. This means that the relation between the variables in our project is highly positive, and by doing so, we can proceed for the regression analysis. Alright, for the regression analysis, we just need to focus more on the formation of line of best fit. Basically, line of best fit is the results from our analysis on the variables. And because we had used the Microsoft Excel to construct our graph, we had also able to draw the line of best fit computerly, and here it is shown in our graph. The red line is the line of best fit for our project. And if you notice, not all of our data had been touched by that straight line. There is estimately have about 4 of our data that had touched the straight line. So basically, the equation for the straight line is known as the estimated regression model, and you can observe and see it on the top of our graph, which is indicated by the red color, 1.71x plus 1.01. That is the estimated regression model of our graph. And that's it for the results of our project. Thank you from me, and then we should proceed with Rahman for conclusion and recommendation.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. So, that is part of our survey. From the survey, we studied that most of the students, which the 13 students, spent below 20 minutes to read 10 pages and below, while the non-students spent 20 to 40 minutes to read the book until the 20th page of the Meda book. And sadly, only 3 students managed to spend their 40 to 60 minutes to read the Meda book until the 20th page and above. So from this, it shows that most of the students lost their focus to continuously read the book until they reach the 10th page of the Meda book. So apart from this, I would suggest and recommend the students to be able to more focus and concentrate while they're reading with these 2 recommendations. So the first recommendation, the students should spend more time on the reading, because the one who reads is the only person to get the knowledge. So it is very compulsory for a person to read in order to gain some knowledge. So the next recommendation I would suggest is the students should concentrate more in their studies to understand something while reading. In this case, the students could take a better place to focus, because the surrounding also affect their concentration and focus of while they are reading. So that's all from me. Thank you.